when someone hears marketing, they will usually put that word next to advertising. And initially, I didn't know what the difference was, even myself. So I'd be really interested to kind of hear from you, like different roles under marketing for somebody who potentially has scouted the industry as something they could go into, but they're not sure what it is.
Do you have another 2 hours? So when I started, it was basically just, marketing communications, and then social media started. But today you have so much more. You have product marketing, you have demand generation, you have event marketing, you have brand marketing, corporate marketing. I mean, the list goes on. And they're all different. But I think where the biggest difference comes in is whether you work for a smaller or a bigger company. At the bigger companies, they're going to have a lot of different disciplines, and you're going to have a very narrow, approach. If you work for smaller companies, they can afford to hire, 50 marketers. So one person can actually hold a few different roles. And I think, anyone who's just getting started, what I would recommend is literally do a Google search for what are the most popular, marketing roles. And you will get a list that really explains what every role looks like. But in high level, you have roles that are more strategic and roles that are more tactical. So a role like product marketing is considered very strategic because it has to do with the core product. You need to be able to understand your market. So you do market analysis, you look at your competitor, so you do competitive analysis. You really go deep to try and understand your customers and who they are, way beyond just demographics, to really understand pain points and why they do what they do. And then your role is to take all of this information and figure out how to turn it into a story that doesn't only, sound good when you tell it to other people, but it actually drives action, because at the end of the day, you're a business, you want to make money. So you either sell to customers or to other businesses, but you need them to actually take that step. And there are different ways to do that. And, someone who's doing product marketing would usually do the go-to-market, which means they choose the right channels. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that marketing is a one-size-fits-all. There's a playbook and you can just apply it. It doesn't work that way. It's more like a menu. There are a lot of different items. And for every company or product, you're going to have to pick the right ones and put them together in a way that actually works. If you do a more tactical kind of role, you can be in demand generation, which includes more of the advertising, really the top of the funnel. How do you actually generate demand and get people to even consider you? You have event marketing, which is probably a little bit challenging right now, but that has to do with everything that you do face-to-face with your customers. It can be, an actual event, but it can also be these days like an online webinar. You have marketing operations, which is usually the people who actually choose the tech stack. So they choose all the different software and tools that you're going to use, all the different analytics, and they're the people who look at the numbers and always know, where you're at. Is this campaign working? Is it not working? Do we need to make a change? So a lot of different roles and a lot of different, skills that you're going to need to do these roles. So it's really about what gets you excited. I mean, do you want to sit and write content all day? Then maybe you should think about content or social media. If you want to be more closely tied to the business, maybe product marketing is your thing. It's more strategic. And if you really care about, advertising, if you want to be an expert using Google and Facebook tools, maybe you should look into digital or demand generation.
And how would you recommend somebody to try and find their role in a marketing team? So with your own experience, it was kind of probably testing lots of different things. So is that what you'd recommend for someone? Would you recommend that work in a small organization and they can take on lots at one time and then go to a larger organization afterwards to kind of specialize? Like, how did that kind of work for you, and what would you recommend?
I think it really depends on what gets you excited. I mean, some people actually know what they want. Like, they can very quickly tell me, oh, no, I don't want to do that. So if you have a direction you want to go for, first, I would recommend that you talk to people who are actually doing that role right now. So maybe don't look for someone like super high up, but someone just one step ahead of you, and just have a conversation like, what does your day-to-day look like? Maybe, they tell you, well, 50% of my time is spent looking at spreadsheets, and you're like, oh my God, I do not want to have that job. It's actually a great way to see if there's a lot more interest. If you're not sure, I would say just pick one, and you can do one of two things. You can go for the bigger company where you'll probably get an opportunity to specialize and learn more about that topic and really become kind of an expert. Or if you go to a smaller company, maybe that would be how you get into the company. But if you want to do more things, you'll be able to experiment. I don't think there's like a right or wrong approach. For different times in my career, I needed, a different environment. I think it really has to do with how you learn. If you prefer to have someone to kind of guide you and give you the best practices, and then you just get to, do it over and over again, bigger companies, are definitely going to give you that. If you prefer to learn on your own, if you like experimenting, if you're not afraid of, making mistakes, definitely go for a smaller company because you'll get the opportunity to do that.
I think that's so important with what you've just said is like, take a step back and actually ask yourself like, what actually excites me? Because whenever I'm talking to friends, someone's got a period out of work, they feel pressure to just get the next job. They don't stop and actually think like, where would I love to work? Like what skills would I actually love to have on my CV? So I think that's really interesting. With your own content, you offer really practical advice. So would you suggest to finding these people, would you be using LinkedIn? Like how would your kind of approach be to go, okay, like how can I find some people who are doing demand generation? How can I actually ask them 5 to 10 questions about it? How would you suggest it?
Yeah, well, I'm very methodical. So I would probably start by picking like 10 companies that I really like. And it's important to choose industries that you like because different roles can look very different, whether you do them in the tech world or in consumer packaged goods, for example. So I would pick industries that I already like, and I would just search LinkedIn to find people, doing product marketing in this case, and kind of look at their resume and try and understand how senior they are, see if, it makes sense for me to approach them. And yeah, probably do a little bit of research, a little bit of stalking. You don't want to reach out to someone. Oh, you can, but it usually works better when it's more personalized. So I can either comment on one of their posts or see if they were interviewed somewhere, listen to the interview. And then I will, circle back and mention something they said that resonated with me. Just find that connection and maybe not start with an ask, but just say that, I'm an up-and-coming marketer. I would love to learn more about product marketing and kind of start that conversation and see after, one or two kind of things I can actually ask them for 30 minutes. And from my experience, most people, especially the ones that are a little bit earlier on, are really excited to share their journey because they don't get that many requests. And I think for everyone, it feels good to talk about your story and what you achieved. I mean, we all like talking about ourselves. So, what a great way to compliment someone by asking for their advice.
So you definitely go down the approach of complimenting them. Don't hit them with the ask straight away. Just show enthusiasm. So what sort of skills? So when you've managed teams before and maybe someone asks about an internship or they ask about gaining experience at a company you've worked for, are there any examples that come to mind or that you've seen where you've been really impressed by someone's like outreach approach? Because I think a lot of people just go straight in with, I want this, I want this straight away, and they completely forget the person they're talking to.
I know. People just don't realize how much of a turnoff that is, especially for people who get a lot of this type of requests. I remember one approach specifically, and there was nothing super unique about it. It was just very honest and down to earth. Someone who definitely did their research. They knew how to refer back to things that I've done in my career and why they think that makes them a good fit because they're going to complement, the things that I've been able to do. It wasn't super long, but it wasn't super short. It was just to the point. And the ask wasn't give me a job. The ask was, I think we can make a great team. Would you mind jumping on a call just to get to know each other? And it just hit me in the right place. It was just, simple, honest. And when I did look at their profile, it seemed relevant for the role that I was hiring for. So I did actually end up talking to them.
And do you think if someone's outreaching, whether to get experience or to get insight about a certain role in marketing, do you think just showing passion and enthusiasm and energy and getting those sort of skills across is enough, instead of, if you don't have the experience, to say you've tried demand generation, now you do want to try product marketing, or you want to make a bit of a pivot under marketing? Do you think those sort of skills are enough for people to kind of see enough in someone? Or do you think you should kind of, before you apply for something, at least have a bit of a portfolio that you can kind of show someone?
I think it really depends on the person. I've had situations where people came with no experience for a specific role, and their ability to learn, so just the amount of knowledge they were able to acquire in the last month or two just prepping for this interview was very impressive. And it was very clear that they had potential, but that was always for entry-level jobs. It's very hard to make that transition when you're somewhere in the middle, although a lot of the skills within marketing are transferable. So it really depends on how you tell the story, how you're able to explain how some skills are going to play out in this new profession. You should definitely have some background. Like, I wouldn't go and apply to product marketing if I have no idea what product marketing is. So I would spend, a good 30 hours listening to podcasts, understanding the language, the terminology. So when I have a conversation, it sounds like I am part of this, industry. And I will try and find opportunities to get more hands-on experience within the company I'm in right now. So if you're doing demand gen for a company, there's probably a product marketing team. Well, see if you can volunteer to help them. See if you can maybe take on a role with a product marketing campaign. See if you can maybe offer, your time and expertise in exchange for them teaching you a little bit more about what they do. And from my experience, it actually works really well, because you get to keep your full-time job and you have this safety net to try and experiment. And if you do something hands-on, then you can put that on your resume, because that's real experience. So you can use your current job to get that experience and then either grow, with the company or go somewhere else, but you still get that experience that you need.
Learned so much, and I'm sure anyone listening to this will really benefit as well. So how can people get in contact with you, and when can we expect to buy your book?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, Maya Grossman, and if you want to read more about the book and download the toolkits and also the first chapter of the book, I'm giving it away for free. Just go to mayagrossman.com and you can find everything. The book should come out, pre-orders in August, and officially launch in September.
And what's the full title of the book?
The book is called Invaluable: Master the Skills You Need to Skyrocket Your Career. And it's basically a step-by-step guide for the 10 skills, the 10 soft skills that I honestly believe can, help you grow your career regardless of what you do. And it's what helped me, work for companies like Microsoft and Google, but also get promoted 10 times in 15 years. So if that's where you want to go, that's definitely the book for you.